When a peaceful life turns to ashes, a quiet teacher becomes a deadly shadow, and his revenge will shake the battlefield. The story begins with Mykola Voronenko, a mathematician, physicist, and ecologist, saying goodbye to his pregnant wife, Nastya, as he leaves for work on his bicycle. They live peacefully in the Donbas region of Ukraine, on a small 2-hectare piece of land, known as the first eco-settlers in the area. When Mykola reaches the school where he teaches, he sees disturbing news. Special forces have killed 100 protesters in Kiev, the capital. Moments later, it's announced that the president has fled to Russia, and tension fills the air. War is coming. Still, Mykola keeps teaching physics, doing his best to inspire his students. But one of them, Ivan, doesn't care about learning. He keeps mocking and provoking Mykola in class. When the lesson ends, Ivan walks up to him and says coldly, "You don't belong here." Leave days later. During another bike ride to work, Mykola notices armed men near his land. He brushes it off, thinking they're just passing through, and continues to the school. But when he arrives, something feels terribly wrong. The school is completely empty. He's the only teacher there. The news on TV confirms his fears. Russian forces are invading and chaos is spreading through nearby regions. Panicked, Mykola jumps on his bike and rushes back home, hoping it's not too late. Mykola's heart is heavy. He can't stop thinking about the armed men he passed earlier. From a distance, his worst fear becomes real. Nastya is being beaten. He runs toward them, but one of the soldiers strikes him with the butt of a gun. He begs them, "Please, she's pregnant," but they do not listen. One Russian soldier goes into their house and sets it on fire. As the two soldiers prepare to leave, Nastya, desperate and brave, picks up a stone to fight back. The men shoot her. She dies in front of Mykola. Minutes later, 2 members of the Ukrainian militia arrive. They help Mykola dig a grave for Nastya. Mykola goes back into the burned house and finds the small wooden crucifix she had made for him. He buries her with a broken heart, and the world feels empty, filled with grief and anger. Mykola decides to go with the Ukrainians. He joins the militia as they move toward their camp, though he is unsure what comes next. The militia leader does not trust him at first. He fears Mykola might be a spy. Mykola insists he wants to help drive the Russians out of their land. They give him a chance to train, but Mykola is a pacifist. He has almost no knowledge of guns. Training is hard for him. A woman in the unit patiently shows him how to disassemble and reassemble a rifle, teaching him the small steps he needs to survive. My friend, do you think he can truly become the fighter he now promises to be? Mykola decides he will learn, not just to survive, but to take revenge. One night, during physical training, he tells his officer he is no longer a pacifist and that he prefers the codename the Raven. The officer reminds him that codenames are earned, not given. Training is hard and new for Mykola, but he is committed. The unit needs snipers at the front. When the officer asks who will volunteer for sniper training, only a few raise their hands. Mykola stands up and says he will do it. The officer doubts him. He laughs that Mykola can't even disassemble and assemble a gun quickly. Mykola asks for a chance and promises he can finish in 20 seconds. The officer places an AK-47 on the table. Blindfolded, Mykola begins, hands steady. He strips the rifle and puts it back together. In 18 seconds, the room falls silent, then breaks into applause. Now, the team accepts him for sniper training. During the course, Mykola notices something strange. He is given a different weapon from the rest. He feels it's unfair and refuses to accept it. He demands the same rifle as the others, an SVD-63, the semi-automatic designated marksman rifle. The staff are not happy with his demand. In the end, he has no choice but to accept what he is given and make the best of it. Brother, do you think Mykola has what it takes to stay calm when every second could mean life or death? The sniper trainees are told one golden rule: stay invisible. no matter what happens. To test them, the trainer fires bullets just a few inches away from their bodies. If anyone flinches, they fail. Most of the trainees panic and move, but Mykola stays completely still, even with the deafening gunshots so close to him. In another test, their scopes are suddenly covered while aiming at a target. Mykola misses, but he doesn't make excuses. Even though he knows his weapon isn't the best, he simply keeps pushing forward. When the training shifts to mathematical calculations, Mykola shines. His mind works faster than anyone else's. Being a mathematician finally pays off. He solves problems before others can even pick up their pencils. Impressed, the lieutenant colonel congratulates him. Mykola passes his sniper training with pride and determination. One day, the lieutenant colonel calls him over and says, "Pack your things." Mykola has been chosen for a mission to retake a checkpoint captured by Russian forces. The team moves quickly and secures their position. Each sniper prepares, waiting for the signal. Suddenly, a car approaches the checkpoint. The colonel stops them from shooting. A young couple steps out of the car and are told to show their passports. Once cleared, they're allowed to go. But one Russian soldier keeps the man's passport. The man demands it back, but the soldier refuses. The argument escalates. The girl is slapped, and the man is shot dead on the spot. The lieutenant colonel gives the signal, "Fire!" In a matter of seconds, every Russian soldier at the checkpoint is killed. The lieutenant colonel congratulates the team. Their first mission is a success. When they return to the command post, Mykola looks for his fellow trainees, his new brothers in arms, but he's told they've been sent on a different mission. Later, he learns that one of them was killed, taken down by a Russian sniper in a brutal way. Soon after, Mykola's team is sent on another mission. They set up hidden explosives, covering the trigger with a leaf. As the Russians approach, Mykola takes aim, but then freezes. Among the enemies, he sees a familiar face, Ivan, his former student, the one who once mocked him in class. There's no time to think. The explosives go off. The ground shakes. Every Russian soldier is killed, including Ivan. The lieutenant colonel looks at Mykola and says quietly, "Don't feel too bad. He made his choice." Later, while they rest, the lieutenant colonel takes out a photo of his family. Mykola asks to see it. The officer smiles sadly and says his two daughters don't know what he really does. They think he's just away on a business trip. He made a promise to his wife to keep his job secret. Noticing the small wooden crucifix hanging from Mykola's neck, the colonel asks, "Is that your lucky charm?" Mykola holds it gently and replies, "No, it's my family." The Ukrainian team takes the trenches by the border and waits. It's only a matter of time before the Russians pass by. From his scope, Mykola suddenly sees the man who killed Nastya. He asks the lieutenant colonel for permission to take the shot. The colonel says, "Stand down." Mykola asks again. The shot is perfect. The colonel refuses. He can't hold himself. Mykola squeezes the trigger anyway and kills the man with a clean hit to the neck. For a moment, he feels relief, but the cost is immediate. A Russian elite sniper named Sari has also been watching. The lieutenant colonel spots Sari and calls out his position, trying to protect the team. Sari is faster. The colonel is killed. Chaos follows. Their position is compromised. Mykola, filled with guilt and panic, does something desperate. He lifts the colonel's body onto his back and runs through enemy fire until he reaches a trench where he can hide. He survives, but the colonel does not. Mykola is crushed. The officer who believed in him is dead because Mykola ignored orders. He decides the only way to make this right is to find and stop the sniper who killed the colonel. He goes out alone on a mission. He spots two enemy snipers and eliminates them, but not without being hit in the arm. While he rests, the brigadier general calls. Mykola tells him about the Russian sniper, but cannot give full details yet. The general promises to brief him in person. Mykola packs his gear and heads toward the new location, alone and determined to finish what began. "Brother, how far do you think he'll go to find and stop that sniper?" This mission is Mykola's chance to learn more about the mysterious Russian sniper. The brigadier general gathers the men and explains how dangerous this enemy is. He has already killed 5 Ukrainian snipers and 3 machine gunners. He is skilled and rarely moves from his chosen position. Some soldiers want to cover the area with mines. The officer refuses. Mykola, who knows the land well, explains why this idea is dangerous. He says the sniper is hiding near a chlorine storage site, and using explosives could release poison gas and cause a disaster for the whole region. The officer accepts the warning. Everyone receives their assignments. The plan is clear. First, eliminate the secondary targets. Then Mykola must climb the building and take the sniper himself. The officer makes this order very clear before they break. Crawling slowly toward the target area, Mykola finds his position and signals it set. Quietly and without hesitation, he sneaks up behind 2 Russian soldiers and kills them both. One of them is the same man who came to his house the day Nastya was attacked. Across the line, the other Ukrainian snipers lock their targets. They do a careful countdown and fire at the same exact moment. The synchronized shot works. The secondary threats are wiped out, clearing the way for Mykola to move on. Have you ever imagined what it feels like when the moment for revenge finally comes? Siri starts to notice that his lookouts aren't reporting back anymore. He leaves his post to check what's going on outside. At the same time, another Russian sniper also heads out to investigate the communication failure. Neither of them realizes that Mykola is already closing in, quietly, patiently, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sari reaches one of the sniper's positions and sees him still aiming through the scope, but when he gets closer, he's shocked. The sniper's already dead. He immediately calls for backup, and they tell him to wait 10 minutes. Sari rushes back to his post, puts his eye to the scope again, and suddenly spots a small wooden crucifix lying beside him. Before he can even react, Mykola jumps on his back and drives a knife straight into his neck. The other Russian sniper returns to his post, only for a grenade to explode, killing him instantly. Moments later, the backup team that Sari called for finally arrives. A Russian officer radios in, calling for Sari. Mykola answers instead, his voice cold and steady. "You'll pay for what you did," to Crimea. Then he pulls the trigger. And when the war finally goes silent, revenge isn't enough to fill the emptiness he feels inside. Russian soldiers pour out of their trucks, ready to attack, but they're no match for the Ukrainian snipers, who are already locked in position and ready to strike. Within seconds, the battlefield turns silent. When the smoke finally clears, Mykola walks away from the chaos, back to the place where it all began. He kneels at his wife's grave, the wooden crucifix resting in his hand. His mission for revenge may be over, but the pain, the loss, and the war are far from done. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more powerful stories like this and help the channel grow.